Hello and welcome to another Get Good at Business highlight. I'm your host and business coach, Taylor Proctor, here to help you get good at business so you can get back into the heart of why you got into business in the first place. And the way that we do that is through using the I Move method, which stands for intuition, marketing, operations, velocity, and execution. When you can get good at business in those areas, everything else starts to fall into place. So it is my honor today to not only introduce the I Move method to you, but to introduce one of our incredible business owners, Christine Diamond. Christine, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, I'm so glad to be here.
So Christine is the founder of Harvest Consulting. She's a seasoned expert in project management and business development. With a degree in international business management and Spanish, she has led various management roles, transitioning seamlessly across departments. She has significantly contributed to the growth of over 40 businesses through her strategic acumen and dedication to excellence. Her innovative approach to business, combined with the zest for life, reflects her professional and personal endeavors. So I'm so excited for Christine to join us today and kind of pull back the curtain a little bit on how she works within her business within the areas of the I Move method. But before we get to that, I got to know, Christine, how did you get started in Harvest Consulting, and how has your background in project management really led you to create those structured systems that you help other people build for that operational efficiency?
Yes, of course. I would love to share that moment. It was quite interesting because there's a lot of people who go to school in college and then don't end up using their degree. I'm one of the success kids, I guess, and I ended up using my business management degree, and for over 10 years was just in those roles. And it's essential. Project management is vital to any of those middle administrative positions, whether it's sales management, team management, coaching, whatever it is. And so when I was working as an executive assistant for a real estate investment company, I was um, wonderfully blessed with extra responsibilities because someone else didn't have the time. So I took on the role of the partner as asset manager. So even though I wasn't getting paid as partner, I was doing all of the responsibilities of that person. And it was a 52 unit property in Idaho with a $5 million refinance, 26 different people involved, never had done this before, only used my project management skill set to be able to make sure that this all went through within a 3-month period. And if it didn't, there would be a $30,000 fee to restart.
Oof.
And that money was supposed to go to all of the tenants to get a new parking lot poured. So there was a lot riding on this, and it all went so smoothly because I just used Asana at the time, with my favorite project management tool, and a lot of spreadsheets and forms. And I just called people up if they weren't doing their part. It was just like, this needs to be done before this deadline so we can make it on time. I was contacting the general contractors, the subs, I mean, like everyone involved, the bank, all of it. And so when that ended, I realized I was just being paid hourly, and that was not
That
the
is not
house.
the job. That is not a job that's an hourly job.
No, it's not. And I was doing that on repeat, and I was like, wow. So everyone got their money. Everyone was happy. And do you know what my reward was? My reward was, hey, I actually don't need to work on my portfolio as much anymore. So, Christine, you have 3 months to go find another job because I'm going to work over at my brokerage over here.
No.
And I was like, wait a second. I just made everyone so much money. And now I have 3 months to go ahead and find other work. And all of his business partners were like, man, Christopher, like, how did that go so well? There's so many things that could have gone wrong. And he's like, I can't take credit. That's Christine. And so they're like, man, how can I get a Christine to work with me? My very first offers were simply, with Harvest Consulting, was simply that I wanted to be involved in real estate investments because I know that business owners and real estate investors are the most wealthy in this world. And more people of high quality ethics and caliber of character need to be wealthy to impact the community for generational wealth and for a positive, next generation, and everything can grow from there. So I was like, oh my gosh, like that'd be so cool to continue in this vein and be project manager. So that's what I did. I basically just said, hey, I can be your asset manager, your project manager. I can help you manage your real estate investment projects. And I did that for the first 6 months. And then I got approached by other businesses, random chiropractors and accountants and energy healers and coaches, and different people were saying, I also need to have systems in place because I'm maxed out. And they could understand that they were their own bottleneck, but didn't know how to really like put that structure and systems in place for project management. So that's really like how it came to be. And I really just responded to the call.
Mhm.
I was like, okay, I have all of this skill set and problem solving capability. So let's go. Let's grow.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love that on so many levels because I think so many entrepreneurs and business owners can completely relate to busting your butt to get a job done, crushing it, having it be amazing, making so much money in the like corporate space, and then being like, and thanks for your work. Go
That's
find something else, right? It's almost like it's a villain origin story, but it's an entrepreneurship origin story.
Oh my goodness. I love that you said that because I was like, I did say this to a couple of friends this last year. I was like, you know what? It's like really good that I have my own moral compass because I'm really good at following through with plans and I'd be an amazing villain. So like it's a good thing that I have like high ethics and moral character keeping me in line because otherwise I could burn down this world. Burn down, restart, new systems.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love that.
Phoenix Rising.
So let's move into the areas of I move. And I love that you had said like you answered the call, right? Because I think that is oftentimes a part of intuition, right? And I
Mhm.
of I move is intuition. And so how have you continued to answer that call in navigating the growth of Harvest Consulting? Like, do you rely on intuition or is it data driven insights more? Or is there a combo in really balancing that to guide the direction of where you take your business?
Yeah, I actually like that you said the combo. Um, I was actually a student consultant on teaching at Utah Valley University before I became a business consultant, which is funny because the teachers there, they would have the semester and then they would get feedback at the end. They'd get feedback from their clients, right? Their students at the end of the semester when there's no longer that cohort of students and the interplay of how they're all working together and what they want in that class. So I would actually come in the middle and get their feedback so we could apply what they needed to
In
those
real time.
people. And so that's kind of how I combine intuition with feedback and metrics and like the data driven side is I'm going to go forward with aligned action like this feels right. This is good. This is what they said they wanted and their expectations and I'm following through on it
Mhm.
and reevaluating like, hey, is this working for you? What's working the best, what's not? And always course correcting and adjusting to add a better value add to the service. And now I'm actually taking that to the front of the business,
Okay.
which I know is the next thing is marketing.
Mhm.
But like my intuition has been really heartfelt and data driven for client fulfillment. But now I'm taking that intuition into my marketing, which is really saying, like, okay, how can I be in a space that's really energetically aligned while I'm welcoming people in?
Yes. And I think we hear this a lot as business owners of like energy sells, but we don't really hear like how to be in alignment with that energy. And I love that you're like, hey, does this feel right? Uh, does this make sense? Not only with the data, but the direction you want to go, and then using that in your marketing to create that energy and invite people. Like that's such a good use of your intuition towards your business in all of the aspects, but especially within marketing.
Yeah. And I would say I also ask this question when it's intuitively led. What is the highest and best use of my time and energy right now? And sometimes that is taking naps. We've both talked about this. And sometimes It actually is like, I need to go for a walk and move my body for a second so that I can come back and respond to these messages.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I love that you bring up naps too, because yes, how do we take care of ourselves? Intuition guiding that. So you mentioned marketing, you know it's the M of I move. So what are some of the innovative marketing strategies that you've utilized to really effectively communicate the value that you can provide to your clients? Because it's kind of a little bit of a different niche, right? Of this like operational efficiency. Tell us about how your marketing has helped support really connecting with those ideal clients.
Yeah, I think that I've had to lean really heavy onto the client's pain point to the part where they're like, I can't expand beyond me right now.
Mm.
And really, really just hone in on that feeling because if I'm trying to explain operations, they get hung up on the word operations. Like
Glaze over.
people understand the word marketing, they understand the word finances, they understand the word legal. But when you hear operations, you're like a machine? Or like, what are we operating here? And so I would use those kind of terms or operations or efficiency at the very beginning and I've really had to like just let go of those and tell those people the solution once they're already shopping for it. So that's been the innovative adjustment to the messaging is like, okay, how am I actually going to convey this to people in a way that they're already searching for it?
Yes. I just recently did a video where I was talking about like the importance of dropping your industry jargon. Right? And in that, I was talking about how I was working with a client and they were like, we want people to come to our app and know that content is king. And I'm like, a normal everyday person does not say content is king. They see a billboard, they see a post, and they go, I'm going to share that with my sister, or that's really cool. They don't go, oh, yeah, content is king. Right. And I think
No.
it's the same thing here. For a lot of people, it's like, we can use the word operations and efficiency, but for a lot of business owners, it's like, what does that actually look like? And speaking to them on their language, I think is something as entrepreneurs we know, but we don't know, right? We don't practice it. So I love that that's for you, that's the innovative shift. Makes
Yeah.
all the difference to speak their language and speak to their pain points instead of the language that you would use in your business.
Well, yeah, because a lot of times people would come to me and they when they're at that point and they'd just be like, I'm not very good at follow up.
Ah,
So
yep.
they don't necessarily know that the solution to that is to have a CRM, and they don't even know what CRM stands for or what it means, or to have a central place to manage your contacts. And, maybe they've heard the word pipeline for marketing and sales and having a pipeline, but they don't necessarily know how to set up those stages, or they don't know, like, what's the workflow to go through the next thing. And it's also not completely necessary for me to convey the solution at that beginning stage of discovery with one another. It's more like, okay, so you're having a problem with follow up. What do you currently do?
Hmm.
What's your hang up? When do you feel like you're successful at it? And when do you feel like it's really just this big pile of contacts of cards you got? And they're like, well, I'm really good at it at regular networking because I only get a few cards and I can just text people that day and then we set up an appointment. Or they're like, but when I go to those big expos and I have a booth there, I come back and I'm completely drained from 2 days of just like promoting everything. I got all of these cards and then they're like, oh, I don't want to data entry put them all in. And so then you're like, okay, well, the solution is different for you than it is going to be for someone else who has a follow-up problem. And I think that's what I really like to convey to these people is I have frameworks and standards, but we customize the solution to you and how you operate. Because I don't want to build something with people, an engine that they're not going to use. If
Right.
someone is like, oh, there's these really cool, robust new softwares that can do X, Y, Z, da, da. Like, yeah, but are you going to use it? And if you don't use it, then it's not worth paying for.
Yeah, it's you're building the engine and you're putting it in the car, but then you never drive that car.
Yeah, exactly. And that's even more frustrating than not having the car.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I love that. So, speaking of the operations, whether it's follow up or not, and I do use the word operations in the I move method, right? But what this is a little bit different, right? Because obviously you focus on operations for other people. But what key operational processes have you implemented at Harvest for yourself as a business owner to really ensure that smooth workflow and results of client satisfaction?
Yeah, I think that my favorite thing is templates. And I've used them in my accountability cohort for onboarding new people that are either in the cohort or high ticket clients. Um, just pulling from that same message that was informative and here's your welcome, and just knowing, oh, new person came in, here's their welcome, give them access. They plug them in the Slack channel, like whatever they need, right, to get started is just like, oh, this is what worked before. So, because I have a Google Doc of those templates, it's easy for me to go ahead and change that standard when I actually was like, "Ooh, I actually like how I said this better."
Mhm.
So then I don't have to like go and find it in my emails, even though I could probably. You could find it in my emails because they're organized, but
Yeah.
it's just nice to have templates. I use those for client onboarding, like I said, but I actually really have started using them a lot more for my framework of content for social media. Is really like um, sharing a regular story, but then conveying it to how someone can engage with me. So they can engage with me with really clear call to actions. And so that little framework is also a template. Um, in operations, I would say for fulfillment, also just the simple things of like having your contract ready or, just a little checklist of like, did I give them everything? Pretty powerful because then you don't have to use your decision making powers for that.
Yes. I love that because I think one of the strongest foundations for operational efficiency in our own businesses are, I call them SOPs, right? Your standard operating procedures. And that is like, okay, what is the typical response template that I use here and how can I edit it? Did I send them this? Did I add them here? Did I add them here? And I think business owners really underestimate how much mental power and time it takes to be like, okay, did I add them here? Did I add them here? Okay, I sent that to this person 3 months ago. Let me go look that up and send them something similar or start from scratch when it's like, if you could save so much mental and emotional and actual time, space, and power by having, I love that you call them templates, right? By
Yeah,
having these templates, by having these checklists, I call them SOPs, right? Like,
I
but by
call them
having
SOPs
these,
too. Yeah.
so much time is saved. So I love that you've implemented that for yourself and are seeing like the speed and the ease of that, which is that's all about the O of operations and I move. So I love that.
I would also add that from that decision fatigue, there's also space for your creativity.
Yeah.
So I typically get to overwhelm or shut down when there's too many decisions to decide between and too many hangups. So it's like, okay, I literally just want to send one email. And then I get in there and it's like, oh, we've got to send a PayPal link and then we got to do this. And all there's too many roadblocks that I'm like, this should have been 5 minutes. Like, throw the table like Thor. I don't want to do this right now. And I completely avoid it. And then the procrastination happens. So if I can have most of that figured out ahead of time, then my problem solving skills only have to show up every once in a while for those simple problems. And they're available for truly bigger fires or bigger solutions, which then means I have more creative power for like serving my people.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Well, and of course, part of this, all of this really, we're in business to serve more people. And in that like same space of more and that growth really falls the V of the I move method, which is velocity.
Yeah.
So, what are some strategies that you have found to be most effective in really accelerating the growth, giving the velocity, and fostering that creativity, that innovation in your business?
Okay, so for the client fulfillment side, when something in a session with a client is not only applicable to them, my lights just go on and I'm like, okay, great. So I can apply this to my four other clients or to my other, people and myself.
Mm.
So I love walking the walk and being like, oh, great. Yeah, this is an awesome insight that just I'm a verbal processor. So it just came out during the session. And I'm like, wait, this is not only applicable to this client, even though we customize things, it's like, this is actually really helpful for more people. So then I go ahead and just provide, like, for one of them, it was a social media, um, let's see, it was with email outreach. I think it was actually Sarah, but social media outreach that was simply from Alex Hormozzi's YouTube channel.
Mhm.
But I put it into Chat GPT and I made it actually like systemized where you could check boxes and you knew like who you're going to reach. So you could actually implement what the training was from his YouTube channel. And then I gave it to her assistant, and that's how they did their outreach. And I was like, sweet, I can tell this to other people. Like now that's in my little log of SOPs or templates, and was like, hey, do you need a certain outreach campaign and it fits your business? This is how you actually implement the knowledge. And that
Yeah.
is a big thing for me, is I get really bothered when there's too much information and not enough time to actually hands-on try it out.
Yeah.
Like you got to have time to actually implement the knowledge, or else you just have data and you're not wise.
I think there's another secret takeaway from this, which is I love that you said, I put into OpenAI ChatGPT the video and said, "Hey, take the transcript of this and make me a checklist." Like,
Yeah.
that's so efficient and effective in such a great way, but then you're spot on, like, the next step is the execution part, the time to play within it, and I think that's just phenomenal and such a great way to really apply that velocity and that growth, which is also why execution is the final part of iMove following velocity, because we can talk all about making decisions via intuition. We can talk about the strategies of our marketing. We can talk about how to be more operationally effective. We can say, here's how we're going to add velocity to our business. But if we don't execute in it, it goes nowhere. So, with the E and I move representing execution, take us home. Tell us, what is a major initiative or project that you are working on, you're currently focusing on, you're executing on in your business over the next few months?
Yes, I would love to. So this is something where we've talked about that feedback and responding to the call of the market and coming full circle back to real estate investor business owners. Um, I truly have curated my 90-day real estate engine. It's actually called the Ultimate Real Estate Growth Engine. And the
Okay.
reason why is because real estate investor business owners are typically multi-passionate entrepreneurs. They usually have other businesses and then simultaneously want to grow their wealth portfolio. Some of them are full-time into real estate, but the execution of all of the knowledge they've learned from masterminds, from gurus, from education courses is severely lacking in a way that they truly feel like they have to do everything themselves.
Hmm.
I feel like that's a struggle that um, they don't realize that simply getting out of their head how they do things is now reducing the bottleneck. Just that. Even like we even had a conversation before, but like um, you first need to know what you're doing. It's aligned with your vision. You're headed in that direction. Then, how are you currently doing it? Once you know that, then you can create those templates and all that stuff. And the execution is really just about following. You're following your own guidance rather than following the fires, responding to the messages of other people, then you're following their dictates
Yeah.
rather than leading your own business. So the execution side is really about growing what you want to grow. So having a growth engine in your business is like, this is how I operate. This is how I want to grow. And this is sustainable for me to grow in this way rather than running around like a chicken with your head cut off. Instead, you are fully empowered to grow by taking action that is aligned to how you want to operate. That's honestly translating people from being owner operators to owner visionaries
Mm.
through that execution plan.
I love that. And I think that's such an exciting thing to focus on and to be executing towards. And I think the big takeaway that I hear there is how can you set your business up to be proactive instead of reactive?
Amen. Yes.
Speaking of proactiveness, proactivity, if our audience, our listeners, our watchers want to be proactive and learn how to get a hold of you, connect with you more, where can they go?
They can go to my website, which is consultingwithharvest.com. If you go to /contact, there is an opportunity to talk together for 15 minutes. And I will pour into you as much as possible within those 15 minutes to uncover really what's your roadblock. And the other opportunity is to connect on Facebook or Instagram, Christine Diamond Consultant.
Beautiful. And that link to consultingwithharvest.com/contact is in the description of this video as well. So you can do a straight click there. And Christine is tagged in the Facebook Live. So you can click on that and friend her there also. So Christine, thank you so much for joining us today, for being so real and candid and pulling back the curtain on your business as it pertains to the iMove method. We do this podcast because we believe that you can learn and grow by listening from two other business owners, not only just their stories, but how they're working within the iMove and get major takeaways that you can add to your own business. So thank you so much for being so real, so candid, so honest, and being on the show today.
Well, thank you. It was great fun as always.
So for anyone else watching, thank you again so much for joining us today, and be sure to stay tuned. We will have more Get Good at Business highlights coming up.